Good afternoon, Eagles Nation. If you wear green and white with pride, make sure to leave a like to support the video because the Philadelphia Eagles are already turning the page on organized team activities, and what has happened during these spring practices is beginning to paint a fascinating picture of what this team could look like when the regular season arrives. Mandatory minicamp is next, training camp is right around the corner, and for Eagles fans, the countdown to meaningful football is moving faster than ever. One of the biggest stories to emerge from OTAs has been the impact of Riq Woolen. When the Eagles signed him in free agency, there was optimism surrounding his potential fit in Vic Fangio's defense. But what has unfolded during the spring may have exceeded expectations. Woolen has quickly established himself as a major presence on the outside opposite Quinyon Mitchell, showing exactly why the Eagles targeted him after the initial wave of free agency had passed. The physical tools have never been in question. His height, length, speed, and ball skills have always made him one of the more intriguing defensive backs in football. Throughout OTAs, those traits were on full display. Multiple pass breakups, strong positioning and coverage, and a noticeable comfort level within Fangio's scheme have allowed Woolen to make an immediate impression. The Eagles clearly believe they may have found tremendous value on a one-year contract worth up to $15 million. Now, what makes Woolen's emergence even more intriguing is the praise he has already received from Fangio himself. The defensive coordinator revealed that he had studied Woolen extensively and was surprised the cornerback did not receive more attention on the free agent market. Fangio's excitement about the acquisition has become evident through both his words and Woolen's usage on the field. If this trajectory continues into training camp, the Eagles could have one of the more athletic cornerback pairings in the league. While Woolen has generated excitement on the defensive side of the ball, another major storyline has developed on offense. DeVonta Smith is stepping into a new reality. Following the departure of A.J. Brown, Smith now finds himself firmly positioned as the #1 receiver in Philadelphia. What stands out most is not simply his elevated role, but the way he has approached it. In previous years, OTAs were not always a significant part of Smith's offseason routine. This year has been different. His presence during spring practices sends a message about leadership, accountability, and preparation. It suggests that he understands exactly what this offense will require from him moving forward. For years, Smith has earned respect through consistency rather than volume. He has never been the loudest player in the room. Instead, he has built his reputation through work ethic, professionalism, and production. According to Jordan Mailata, none of this leadership is new. In fact, Mailata believes Smith has already been functioning as a captain long before officially wearing a captain's patch. That sentiment carries weight inside a locker room filled with respected veterans. Mailata's comments suggest that Smith's influence extends well beyond statistics. He has become one of the foundational voices of the team, and now his responsibilities are growing even larger. The numbers throughout Smith's career show exactly why the Eagles can trust him in this expanded role. Since arriving in Philadelphia, he has consistently produced, including multiple seasons above the 1,000-yard mark. His ability to create separation, run precise routes, and make difficult catches has made him one of the most dependable weapons in the organization. Now, with a larger share of the offense expected to flow through him, there is genuine belief that his production could reach another level entirely. Another player generating significant buzz during OTAs is Cooper DeVonta. The versatile defensive back appears poised to take on an even bigger role in 2026. While fans already know what he can do as a nickel corner, there are increasing indications that the Eagles intend to expand his responsibilities at safety as well. DeGene has reportedly spent time studying Charles Woodson, one of the greatest defensive backs in NFL history. That decision alone reveals a great deal about how he views his development. Woodson successfully excelled at both cornerback and safety during his Hall of Fame career, making him an ideal model for a player attempting a similar transition. What makes DeGene's progress especially encouraging is the physical transformation he has undergone without sacrificing athleticism. He has added muscle and strength while maintaining the same playing weight, preserving the quickness and explosiveness that make him such a valuable defender. Combined with his outstanding tackling ability and football intelligence, DeJean continues to evolve into one of the most important young players on the roster. As OTAs move further into the rearview mirror, several clear themes are beginning to emerge. Riq Woolen looks increasingly comfortable in Fangio's defense. DeVonta Smith is embracing the responsibilities that come with being the focal point of the passing game. Cooper DeJean continues expanding his role and developing into a versatile chess piece capable of impacting multiple areas of the defense. These developments may only be occurring during spring practices, but they are already shaping expectations for what could be one of the most fascinating Eagles seasons in recent memory. And with mandatory minicamp still ahead, there may be even more revelations waiting to surface before training camp officially begins. If these early OTA performances are any indication of what is coming, which player do you believe is positioned for the biggest breakout season in Philadelphia? Reek Woolen, DeVonta Smith, or Cooper DeJean? Beyond the headline performers, there were several other developments during OTAs that Eagles fans should be paying very close attention to because they could have a major impact on the roster once training camp begins. One of the most intriguing names to emerge from the spring was rookie offensive tackle Markel Bell. While many fans expected veteran Fred Johnson to remain the primary backup option behind Lane Johnson, the early practices told a different story. During the first OTA sessions open to the media, Lane Johnson was away from the team, and when the Eagles needed someone to step into that right tackle spot, it was Bell who received the opportunity. That decision immediately caught attention because Bell's college experience came primarily at left tackle. Despite that, the coaching staff showed enough confidence in him to put him in a prominent position during practice. The reason for that confidence becomes clearer when examining Bell's profile. The Eagles invested a top 70 draft selection in him, and he arrives with an impressive college resume. Last season, he did not allow a sack, demonstrating the type of pass protection ability that NFL teams covet. More importantly, his physical traits stand out even among professional athletes. The Eagles have consistently shown an ability to identify and develop offensive linemen better than almost any organization in football. When they select a player this highly and immediately begin testing him in meaningful situations, it often signals long-term plans. With Lane Johnson continuing to perform at an elite level but also advancing in age, it is impossible to ignore the possibility that Philadelphia views Bell as a future successor at one of the most important positions on the roster. If that is indeed the case, then Bell's strong spring becomes one of the more significant under-the-radar stories from OTAs. Another surprise involved the quarterback room. Many expected Tanner McKee to firmly establish himself as the primary backup behind Jalen Hurts. Instead, the early practices revealed a different hierarchy. Veteran Andy Dalton was consistently working ahead of McKee during the sessions observed by the media. That development immediately raised eyebrows. Dalton brings years of NFL experience and has operated in numerous offensive systems throughout his career. His familiarity with adapting to new schemes could be playing a major role in why he appears comfortable so early under the current offensive structure. Coaches often value reliability and experience during the installation phase of a new offense, and Dalton certainly provides both. The situation becomes even more interesting because McKee had generated substantial optimism based on previous preseason performances and flashes during regular season opportunities. Many observers believed he had positioned himself as one of the more intriguing backup quarterbacks in the league. Yet during these OTA sessions, the distribution of snaps suggested a different reality. While reports indicated that McKee did receive second-team opportunities during portions of practice not visible to the media, the public sessions consistently showed Dalton ahead in the pecking order. Whether this reflects a temporary adjustment period, a coaching preference, or simply a desire to maximize Dalton's experience remains unclear. What is clear is that Dalton emerged from OTAs as one of the biggest winners on the roster. At the same time, not every story from the spring has been positive. One of the most unfortunate developments involved rookie wide receiver My Lemon. The first-round pick entered OTAs with considerable excitement surrounding his potential role in the offense. Early signs were encouraging as well. Before suffering an injury, Lemon was reportedly working with the first-team offense as the receiver opposite DeVonta Smith. That alone speaks volumes about how the coaching staff views his talent and readiness. Unfortunately, his momentum was interrupted by a hamstring injury. For veteran players, missing a few spring practices can often be managed without significant consequences. For rookies, however, every repetition matters. The transition from college football to the NFL is enormous. Learning the playbook, understanding route adjustments, mastering timing with quarterbacks, and adapting to professional defenses all require valuable practice time. That is why Lemon's injury becomes such a notable setback. The positive news is that the injury is not expected to impact his availability for training camp. Nevertheless, the timing is unfortunate because he will now miss the remainder of OTAs and mandatory minicamp, creating a lengthy period away from on-field development. The Eagles remain confident in his future, but there is no denying that these missed repetitions represent a lost opportunity during a crucial phase of his growth. Another player facing questions after OTAs is Tanner McKee. While Dalton's rise naturally creates a winner, it also creates a loser on the opposite side of the equation. McKee entered the offseason with momentum and expectations. Instead, he now faces increased scrutiny heading into training camp. Falling from the QB2 position to potentially QB3 is not where anyone expected him to be at this stage. Training camp and preseason games will provide opportunities to reverse that trend, but for now, his stock appears to have taken a hit. Perhaps the most surprising development of all involves the cornerback depth chart. Just 1 year ago, Kelly Ringo was competing for significant playing time and generating discussion as a potential contributor in the secondary. Fast forward to these OTA practices, and the picture looks very different. When the second-team defense took the field, it was not Ringo receiving the primary opportunities on the outside. Instead, those reps went to Jacorian Bennett and Jonathan Jones. That reality speaks volumes about where Ringo currently stands. His value as a special teams contributor remains intact, and by all accounts, he continues to provide usefulness in that area. However, his standing as a cornerback appears to have declined significantly. For a player who once seemed positioned to challenge for a larger defensive role, this represents a substantial change in trajectory. As the Eagles prepare for mandatory minicamp and eventually training camp, several roster battles are beginning to take shape. Markel Bell is pushing for a larger role. Andy Dalton has unexpectedly climbed the quarterback hierarchy. My Lemon is fighting to recover from an untimely injury. Tanner McKee is searching to regain momentum. Kelly Ringo is attempting to reclaim lost ground in the secondary. And the biggest question now becomes whether these OTA storylines are merely temporary spring developments or the first signs of major roster changes that could define the Eagles throughout the upcoming season. What makes all of these OTA developments so fascinating is that they provide an early glimpse into how the Eagles coaching staff is thinking about the future of this roster. While spring practices never tell the entire story, they often reveal which players are gaining trust, which players are earning larger responsibilities, and which players still have significant work ahead of them. Take the situation involving Markel Bell. The more you look at it, the more significant it becomes. The Eagles have built one of the NFL's most respected offensive lines for years.